for your patience as we resolved a couple of quick technical issues getting into the session. I will be leading this session, the Campus 101 for rehab providers. And I'm joined with Mike Hill and Jeanne Vogel as well from the business. Um, I'm going to share my screen now, and we'll go ahead and jump in. There we go. So we should be able to see the Campus 101 for rehab providers opening screen. Welcome and thank you for being here this afternoon. We look forward to going through this overview session of the campus system and the initial actions for you as a rehab provider. As Yash just put into the chat, any questions that you have that come up during this session, please put into the chat bar and we'll address those at the end of the demos. So moving on, we're going to go ahead and start with a quick campus overview and discussion of benefits. So what is campus? Campus is the workers' compensation claim access and management platform user system, which will be the new hub for all workers' compensation claims and filings within the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. Campus allows the easy access for all parties to the workers' compensation claim and quicker access for claim information online that ensures workers' injuries are reported and compensated in streamlined processes. And all of that information is easily available from one place for both the injured employee and anybody working on that claim internally. So in campus, we designate everything in the system as one of two things. It's either a transaction or an entity. So an entity is anybody that's a party that's going to exist in the system and have transactions be associated to them, whether that's an injured worker or an employer, an insurer, a trading partner, a third-party administrator, a QRC firm specifically for you guys, or a QRC individual. Transactions are determined as anything that's worked on within the system. So it'd be an appeal or petition to vacate, a claim, the dispute, rehab cases, any of the associated transactions related to rehab cases. And additionally, in the system, we call everything that has a hyperlink that takes you someplace. That place that you are taken to is called the details page. So if you have a claim hyperlink and you clicked that, you would be taken to the claim details page. In the example we've got on the screen here, you'll see an example of an insurer details page. So underneath that, the insurer's information is available, as well as a list of tab sets that show associations to other places within the system. So some common elements within the details pages, we have the address and location, the related claims information for an entity. The audit trail is the history of edits and changes that have happened throughout the lifetime of that entity, whether that's a change of address or a change of employer. The additional items here are documents and notes. So documents are stored against the employer and transaction relationships, the entity and transaction relationships. And notes are an additional area where you can attach specific open text notes to keep track of specific information on an entity. In relation to entities, there's also the concept of groups and group supporting information. So groups will have users and user invites that are related to these entities as well. And those groups are essentially a bucket of those employer or rehab provider group's users within that group. But we'll go through that a little bit more in detail further down. So Campus is really about self-service online access to claims and related documents. It allows us to securely send e-documents to parties and claims from one secure place, and it is sending and receiving data between DLI, OAH, and WCCA. So all of this information is being stored and kept up to date in one easily maintained place, which minimizes claim errors through data accuracy verification. In the next section, we're just going to go ahead and get started with Campus. So to jump in, you'll notice throughout that some of the screenshots are notated with red numbers and text, and these correlate to the user manuals that are available outside of this training. So after this course, you'll be able to take a look at those and look back at this presentation as well as that step-by-step guide to follow along. So the first thing we're going to go through is how to register with Campus, which starts with going out to the external site, and there's a sign up button underneath the email and password fields. Once you've clicked that, it's going to open up the Work Comp Campus registration, where you're going to enter who you're registering as, what your personal information is, and the relevant contact information for how you will be contacted by people interacting with Campus. Once you've entered that information, you'll enter the specific account information of your email address and password, and then you'll have to verify the terms of service and privacy policy and access requirements and legal acceptance to receive electronic communications. And of course, proving you're not a robot, at which point you can sign up. Once the sign up has finished, you will receive an email that says, please confirm your email, which will send you back out to this view where your email and password will be confirmed, and you'll be able to log in at this point. Once you click login, then the additional pop-up for access requirements acknowledgement will show, and you'll have to agree here as well before you'll receive access to the external campus. If you've registered and come back later and you've forgotten your password, there is the forgotten password option. So you just click forgot password. It will take you out to a forgot password page where you'll enter the existing email address that you registered with, verify you're not a robot again, and submit that, which will send you an email to register a new password. One thing to note on here as well is that campus passwords do expire every 90 days, so you will be prompted to reset your login once that happens. Once you're logged in and ready to go, we are on the campus homepage. If you look at the top right of your homepage, though, you'll see your user information with a arrow dropdown. If you click on that, then you'll have the options to edit your profile or log out. When you click edit profile, it takes you to your profile's detail page, which shows the information that you use to register. As a QRC individual, this view will also show your QRC number. In this specific example, this user was not registered as a QRC, so that field does not show up. So let's go ahead and demo this. So I'm on here. I've got an existing account already, but I'm going to go ahead and sign up. So I'm going to register as a qualified rehab consultant, and my name is Demo QRC, and I was born a while ago. You'll notice here that as a qualified rehab consultant, I should have my QRC number, and that is a required field here. I know I have couple demo. Feel free to call that number. That's a randomly generated keystroke set, so bummer for whoever owns that number. And you can see there, I accidentally mistyped my zip code, which didn't auto-populate anything, but when I type it correctly now, it auto-populated the city, county, state, and country based on the entered zip code. So here, I'm going to enter my email, and I'm going to enter a new password. I am going to read and agree. If you wanted to see these, you can click these hyperlinks and they will take you out to the additional pages for those. I'm going to sign up. Oh, my passwords don't match. I know what I did. There we go. Oh. As always with signing up, it can be a little finicky. There we go. So I'm going to get this to log into campus, which it takes me back because I haven't confirmed my email yet. I'm not able to log in, but I did just grab a new email here. So I can confirm my email, which takes me back out to Campus External, and I'm able to then log in. So I agree, and I get this one more time just to verify on first login, and I click log into campus, and now I have my dashboard. So this is what I will see every time I log in the future. If I need to make any changes, like I see that I accidentally double capitalized the letters in my first name, so I can edit profile, and I can go ahead and make that correction here and save. Now you'll see it's automatically updated, and if there's ever a time that I need to reset my password, I have the option here as well. If I don't want to save my changes, I can click cancel, and it'll automatically take me back to the home page. All right, so that is a quick version of setting up an account in Campus and navigating to your user profile. So moving forward, we're going to go ahead and look at getting started with Campus. As you'll notice here, like I mentioned before we jumped into the session, there are lots of highlighted boxes here and some numbers. All of this will also be correlated to items in external training that has more of the step-by-step guides. So as you'll see here, we've got a description for each section and what it shows. As the slide here states, anytime that you're somewhere that you need to go somewhere else and you're not sure, go back to the dashboard and you'll be able to navigate to anywhere that you have access to within the external site. And that can be done simply by clicking on the logo of Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry or by clicking the dashboard text. One of the main features of the external campus is the queues, and in the forms queues, this tab will keep track of any information that you have submitted since you've registered your account. As you'll see here, this user has requested for assistance a few times. They've submitted a new injury report, an annual claim, and some other additional items. and you can see when it was last updated, the current status of that, and you get a confirmation number that can be tracked from the moment of submission through the life cycle of that transaction. Additionally, you'll notice that some of these have blue text versus the non-bolded black standard text. Anything with that bold blue text is hyperlinked and will take you out to either the document details page of the submission or the read-only version of the submission if it's in a draft status. Or excuse me, or a edit version if you're in a draft status. Additionally, most transactions will generate a notification as well, and that is viewed from the bell icon in the top of your bar across the blue bar, or from the notification section on the homepage dashboard. The nice thing about the bell icon up top is that anywhere that you are in the system, that header bar is the same, so you will have access to your notifications from anywhere within the system. Notifications are primarily used for alerting when an event is scheduled or upcoming, when a form has been approved, when a scheduling poll has been sent out that needs a response, and when a document has been uploaded. In some cases, as you'll see in the example here, the document can be directly downloaded from the notification, and that will have the download icon of that down arrow with the open half box. Anywhere that you see that icon throughout the system, it will download a document. Next is the initial submission of an injury report for an injured worker that needs to have their claim initiated and tracked within campus. So the first thing that they'll do is to access and log in to the external campus site, and then click the Submit a Filing header from the top and choose the Injury Report option. When you click that option, it automatically directs the user to the Injury Report web form, where the user will submit their information for themselves, or there is an option to submit information on behalf of someone else if you have the qualified position and information required. Once you've filled out the injury information, the employee details, the employer details, and insurer details, if the employer is not the self-insurer, and submit that form, it will be sent to the internal campus for validation and verification. So let's go take a look at that and how that process works. If we go back out to the external site, I can go ahead and click Submit a Filing as my newly created user and choose the request for guidance with an unreported injury, which is the injury report. As you'll see here, my first step is to choose whether I'm choosing to submit on my own behalf or on behalf of someone else. For this, I only know my own information, so I'm going to choose to submit on behalf of myself. We'll say I got injured today. In this case, I haven't entered any of my employee information because I'm not an employee. So there's some additional information that will be needed once this goes into campus. The employer name is a lookup, so I'm just going to use a test employer. And in this case, it found several examples. So it shows me a list of results, and I can choose the one that I was looking for. In this case, there's one test employer, but a couple of DBAs. So I'm going to select the main employer. If my employer was not already in campus, I do have the option here to select employer not found, and I can enter in the specific details for that employer, and that will save as a new record in Campus. Same goes for the insurer record. For this example, I'm going to use the lookup and go through that process one more time. And for the insurer, now I've filled out all of this information. The submit form button is now highlighted and selectable. So I'm going to go ahead and click that to submit my form. I get a notification pop-up that my injury has been submitted, as well as a navigation to this details confirmation page, where I'm given the confirmation number for my new injury report. If I want to see this, I can click my form history to take me back to the home page, which I can then click on my forms, and we can see the injury report that I've just submitted with the status of submitted. So if we go back to our presentation, we're now going to look at how groups function within Campus and how that is lined out. In most cases, I believe you will be receiving a notification to register your account and not the group administrator. But if you are a group administrator, there are additional sessions for how to set up and administer these groups. In this session, we're going to cover going through being set up inside of a group already as that external user. So if we look at that, it's an additional option within the top dropdown of your name. So you'll see edit my profile, my groups, and log out. And we'll show that in a demo here in a few minutes. So if we look at this here, once you're on that group details page, if you have group admin permission, you will have the manage group access as well, in which you'll be able to get into the group management details page and add and edit group users into the group, as well as their access permissions and relationships to other members within that group. As a group user, you will see just the view and leave group options from this details page. So groups in Campus allow for users to be associated to claims and cases that they need to access, and that access to claims and cases is granted to the group in some cases, and then that group membership will allow that information to be viewed for other external users within that group, if they have the properly defined permissions. So once you're in a group, if there is a reason to leave that group, whether you're leaving the company or moving to a different group, there is the leave group option where you click that and you'll get a pop-up to verify that you are sure you want to leave the group. Once you click yes to leave that group, you will lose access to the view of the group as well as any of the information that that group provided access to. So if you're associated to that group and that group had a claim, but you were not associated to that claim specifically, you would lose access once you left this group. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into registering as a QRC and verifying that you have your external account set up correctly to be able to do your daily tasks. So the first thing with that is to start from the dashboard again and the submit a filing header options and selecting the individual rehab provider registration. Once you select that form, you'll be taken to the individual rehab provider registration web form where you'll enter in your specific QRC details. The other option, as I just move forward a slide, is setting up a rehab provider group through the Submit a Filing Rehab Provider Registration web form, which will take you to the details page for the web form to submit the group details for your rehab provider group. And this would not be done by everybody. This would only be done by the group administrator to verify the group is set up and active externally. As an internal, or excuse me, as an individual QRC, you would only register as the individual rehab provider. As you'll see here, once that web form is submitted, there is an additional pop-up that you'll receive for the registration fee. You can click OK here, and it will navigate you to the web form confirmation page, which you can then navigate to the home page from. Additionally, you will also receive an email with the confirmation number of the web form submission and a link back to that form history. So if you click the link from the email and you're not logged in, it will take you to the login page first. But once you log in, it'll automatically direct to the My Form History tab, where you'll be able to see that registration submit and track the status of it moving forward. So once you've been verified by an internal user with that QRC, you'll be able to act as a QRC online. So let's go try that example. As my new QRC user, I've submitted my injury report, but not as a registered individual. So I'm going to go ahead and do this registration as a QRC. And this is my first time registering, so it's an initial. It auto-populated my name and details that it could. I'm going to enter my phone information and another address. Additionally, my public mailing address. I can enter my SSN. Don't try to steal my identity. That's also a random set of numbers. I'm going to enter my QRC number and my QRC expiration date. We'll set for 1 year from now. At this point, I'm going to associate myself to my rehab provider group. And add an address for that employer. You can see in this case, we have a few test addresses. I'm going to choose, and it fills in the city, state, and zip automatically based on that address information. At this point, I choose my certifications, add any supporting attachments. If I want to remove that attachment, I can remove it here. If I want to re-upload, I can go through the same process again and choose a different document. I can choose my document type here. In this case, I only have 4 options. So I'm doing my individual. Full name is the user that you are logged in as, so this user here. And there is a verification on this, so if I type this incorrectly and try to verify, my name does not match, so I'm unable to submit this form until I verify that I am who I say I am. and submit that form. At this point, you'll see that registration fee pop up, and I can click OK, and I'll get this registration submittal confirmation page where I can then access my home page. And when I look back at my form, I can see that I've submitted this and it's pending review. I also have the associated ID for my rehab provider group. And if I want to click the registration, I can see the read-only version of this web form. So I can see the information that I entered if I need to go back and verify that I didn't misclick anything. At this point, if I want to go home, I either have the dashboard option or I can click the image. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the internal site real quickly just to show you the internal approval process. So once an individual rehab provider has submitted that registration, it's going to come into the incoming web forms queue, and a user internally with access to the incoming web forms queue and the registration review team will then see this, and we can view the submission to verify the information. And it's that same web form that we just saw on the external side that is stored in your My Forms history as well. Once I've verified the information is correct here, I can click the dashboard to go back, and I'm auto-directed back to where I was on the incoming web form, and I can go ahead and approve this submission. Once that submission is approved, I'm going to go ahead and be able to log in now as a true QRC user. There we go. We can see the web form has processed, and I'm now able to log in and act as a truly registered QRC. So when I look at my profile, that QRC number is populated, and I'm able to submit QRC-related web forms. Next up, we're going to go through group management. So for group management, I think I already went through this section. I somehow moved forward again. All right, so we've done the group management. Let's go out and demo that real quick. I'm going to log in as a QRC that is associated to groups. So as that individual QRC that's now registered, I can see my groups, and I'm a registered user against this Aspire Health Networks. And I can get into the details page to see some basic information around that rehab provider group, as well as from here, I have the access to leave the group as well. As you can see, my permissions in this group, I'm just a member. So I don't have any administration access to this group, which is why I don't have the manage group access in this dropdown. All right. For the last section here, we're going to go through, excuse me, not the last section, the next section, we're going to go through the electronic service, where you are served documents based on a submit of a web form. So in this case, the external user is submitting a motion to intervene on a dispute that requires legal service. After they've selected their applicable dispute ID in the dispute ID hyperlink, they're going to be taken to the dispute details page, which will have the additional option to submit a filing where the user would choose the motion to intervene option, which takes them to a new details page with the motion to intervene web form details. Once you have filled out that information and moved forward to the last step, it's going to ask you to serve those documents on the affidavit of service step. So you're going to choose who those documents need to go to. And once you've selected that, it's going to either set the service method to US mail or electronic. If the service method is set as electronic, the user will receive the document over email. If the service method is selected as US mail, a task will be generated for an internal user to print and mail that document to the specified party by the service date selected. So with that, serving documents on parties, once you've submitted that, it goes into the My Forms queue as well. And if you clicked on that motion to intervene hyperlink, instead of taking you out to the read-only web form that we saw with the individual rehab provider registration web form, it will take you out to the motion to intervene document. For those receiving the service emails, this is the email format that they'll receive. So they'll have a reference to the dispute, as well as the employee's initials and a link to log into their account to look at that. Excuse me, to look at that document. So to set up additional service of process designees within your group, or as a service of process designee for a group, when that is going through the setup, it's an additional permission within the group management to allow the service of process designee permission. When that is selected, whenever the serve party function is used on the affidavit of service step, any associated process designees will be selected as well automatically, and that selection is not unselectable, so it will be sent to that party as well. As you can see in this slide, the permission is called service of process designee, and once that is selected for a user, then the functionality that I just described will apply for that user. From the document details page perspective, on the home page, once you've clicked that motion to intervene link, you'll be taken out to the document details page that shows a view of that document, as well as the additional document details of the document type, where that was submitted from, the description for it, who created it, when it was created, and any update by and the update date on that. In the final field in that is if that doc is a confidential doc or not. In this case, it's not, so there's no additional permissions around confidentiality, and is shown. The other really cool, important piece in this details page is that the document references back to the parent transaction link. So at the bottom there, you can see the related link for the dispute. And as the user that submitted the motion to intervene, I have access to that dispute. So I can click that hyperlink and navigate to the dispute details page directly from the document. Similarly, if I'm on the dispute details page and clicked on the documents tab, I would be able to open the document details page from here. So let's go ahead and do that motion to intervene process. As that same external user that has now submitted claims and had some time to build history, I'm going to go ahead and access my disputes and click on a dispute here for a test user. I'm going to click submit filing. And at this point, I'm going to choose motion to intervene and save. As you'll notice, I'm automatically directed to the motion to intervene web form. And you'll notice that the located dispute step was skipped because I initiated this process from a dispute. I already know the details for that dispute to locate it, so I don't need to do that step, and it took me to intervener details step 2 automatically. At this point, I can determine whether I'm registered QRC or I'm filing as somebody else. In this case, I am a registered QRC, so I'm going to file this as a QRC. I'm going to click next, and I'm taken to the intervention details, where the medical request date is automatically populated based on the dispute information. I'm going to just enter some test data into this web form. I can upload additional documentation here. In this option, I have a lot more options. There are categories that you can use to limit this, or you can just directly look from within here. I'm just going to choose the top option and click next, which is going to take me to this serve party step, which is what we were just discussing on the PowerPoint. So at this point, you can see I've got a couple items here that are grayed out. These are the service of process designees for the employer, the paint store. So if I choose the paint store as a party to serve on this intervention, it automatically selects those 3 service of process designees as well. When I unselect them, they're all unselected. And if I try to unselect one of these, I'm unable to, as they are the service of process designee. Additionally, I can choose more parties here. If there's a party listed that I need to serve that isn't on this list, I can click the add service recipient, and I can type in my additional naming info. And their role here. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just leave it as is. As you can see here, when I've selected everybody, most people are receiving their communication electronically, but the paint store has chosen to receive that from US mail, so I need to select a date for when to send that out. We'll choose next Wednesday, and the same for our insurer. If I need to verify or edit the address for those accounts as well, I can click edit address, and this information can then be updated to put in a specific address for where to send that letter to. Once I've verified my information from the previous steps and the serve party table here, I'm going to read and confirm, and I make my declaration, and then I'm going to file this as my QRC name. Again, this must match to the logged in account value. One other thing before I click submit form here, because there are documents on this web form, I can click the preview document to see what will be generated once I submit this web form. It does take a little bit longer than most processes in the site, just because it is building that information in real time as you click that button. So you will see a little bit slower response time. So don't click that button a bunch of times, just click it once and wait. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and submit the form. So it's going to process its information, and once it's finished, I will receive a notification as well as the confirmation details page. with a link to my document. As you'll notice with this form versus the previous forms that we've submitted, there were no other hyperlinks available. In this case, because the motion to intervene web form submit includes a document generation, I'm able to immediately click on this document hyperlink and I'm taken to that document. As you can see, if there's anything that doesn't seem right here that I need help with, I'm also directly given information to contact DLI. You can also see in this case, I have some related attachments. So I uploaded additional attachments throughout the web form submission. And because this document was generated at the time of the submission, it keeps the reference between these documents. And I'm able to immediately from here view the details of those documents, which take me out to the document details page for that as the document type. I have the document reference back to the parent document. So if I click that link, I'm taken back to the page we were just on. You can see the related document form confirmation number is referenced here as well. And if I want to download or keep these documents individually, I have the option to download the parent document or download all of them with attachments as a zip. So when I click download all attachments, you can see it does a motion to intervene zip, which I'm then able to open up. And I have the 3 documents that are associated to the transaction. For just the single document, I can click download here and it downloads just the motion to intervene document. Or from the related attachments, I have the option to download each of those individually as well. So that was a motion to intervene, which is a form that has the affidavit of service section and allows for parties to be served either electronically or via mail. I know we moved pretty quickly through that compared to the agenda, but congratulations on completing Campus 101 for rehab providers. And at this point, we can open up the chat for questions and go through those. Bear with me as I'm just pulling up the chat now. So the first question I see here is, do all QRCs need to re-register through Campus now, or will this be required only when their renewals are due? So as we switch over, we are going to set up the rehab provider groups, and the group administrators will have access to then set up their groups, who will add the users to their groups externally once their rehab provider group is established. So they're going to send you an email that says sign up for an account with Campus. But at that point, you'll have to register your account and then log in and go through the steps of the demo that we went through for the individual registration for the rehab provider. So it won't be just for the renewal, it will be for first access. We need to verify that you are who you say you are and that you're registering externally. I hope that answers your question. Oh, it looks like you just updated. Yes, so multiple questions here on when we'll see R forms. That is actually covered in the Campus 201 for rehab providers or QRCs, which will be an additional session. And yes, the Campus 102 will show a step-by-step of going through the R forms. The next question on the list is, how is this going to look for all current open files that have current R forms with Dolly? I haven't been involved from the technical standpoint on how that works, but from a business perspective, maybe Mike Hill or Gian can answer that.
Well, it's my understanding that the forms are supposed to be migrated over and they should be able to see them, but we'll see how that happens.
Yeah. So we'll just verify as we're from the CapTech side as we're finishing our um, readiness tasks to make sure that everything is as it's expected.
The other point is that they should be able to see all rehab requests, responses, and when administrative conferences are scheduled for rehab, you should be able to see that too. You know, one of the problems that we had noted in the past was that QRCs never knew when administrative conferences were being scheduled. So hopefully this will get you folks back in line as to what's happening versus being left out of the loop.
Thanks, Mike. Um, so the next question, it looks like lots of questions on when you guys will see our forms.
I believe the R form demonstration is going to be on the 24th and 25th this month.
Yep. So the submit full SSN information was a decision made at the beginning of the project. I don't have the reason for that. If Mike or GN can answer.
You know, one of the points of the system is the only people that are going to see the full SSN are the people that are granted access to that. So we already know that the insurer knows what the person's SSN is, the employer knows what the SSN is, etc. So, you know, once you have that information, then you're also going to be receiving a number that you'll normally be using that will not be the SSN on the R forms. But that's the point of it's the point of access and information, you know, as far as registration within the system.
Thanks. Appreciate that. The next question is, when you do an intervention, do you add parties who have not contacted the QRC on pleadings or given notices? Mike or GN, do you want to take that one?
I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, Ken, on that. You know, generally, if you're doing an intervention, you're doing an intervention to get your bills paid. And so the ones that are involved typically is going to be the attorneys that are involved, the insurer. I suppose the employee could be included on that too. It's about the best I know.
All right. Hope that answers the question. Next question is, will the new process still require manual signatures on our forms, or will there be an e-signature option? I believe that everything is e-signature, but if there's specific requirements for documents, I'll leave that to Mike to answer.
That's correct. Everything is going to be e-signatures from now on, and basically you're attesting to the document that you're submitting.
Great. Next question, will we continue to use a WID number? Yes. The employee ID in campus will be the WID. I can jump over to the external site again. We can look at a claim here. So this employee ID is also referenced in campus as the WID. Last question currently asked. sometimes there are attorneys from an insurer that I don't even know are there, but may be identified on campus. It looks like that was an expansion to a previous question on the intervention, adding parties that you have not contacted the QRC on pleadings.
Well, they would be, the attorneys for the insurer would be added is if they send in a letter of representation to the department indicating that they are representing the attorney. Therefore, it would make sense that on a rehab request, if for bills to be paid, etc., that if you know that the insurer's got an attorney, that you'd send that to them if you have that information available to you. Other than that, I'm not quite sure how further to respond.
Yeah. Additionally, there is the email that you can reach out to after this session with additional questions. That's all the questions in the chat. If anybody has anything last minute, get it in quick. Otherwise, I think we can go ahead and call it good. Go live date is confirmed. It is the end of this month.
So August 31st.
August 31st, yes. All right. Thank you all for attending and appreciate your time and questions. Hopefully this was a helpful overview of the initial campus system, and you'll see additional information in the Campus 201 session. Thanks again and have a great afternoon. Oh, and as Josh just put in the chat, the email is dli.wcmp@state.mn.us for any questions.
Excellent. Everybody have a great day.